Highlands Light FM. Good morning, good morning. We're at 8:41 here. That's 19 before 9.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
And that means it's time to check in and find out what Wall Street's doing for us today. For the last couple of days have been for us, which has been kind of a pleasant surprise. On the telephone, we have Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Philip, good morning. We've had a couple of interesting days so far on the indexes, haven't we?
We have. This week has definitely been interesting, to say the least. I was looking at a little headline and reading a little bit of news and talking about Taco Tuesdays and how it seems like, people really, I think they said there was a record of how much money was bought in on that day as the market was falling. It was like, let me see, 14 billion, 12 billion, something like that, that actually people were buying. It's 12 or 14 billion. I can't remember the exact number. 12.9 billion. There it is.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So
they talk about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Buying the dip.
Yep. They talk about the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. You and I were talking about it earlier this week. It's the way Trump negotiates. He does it in public. He threatens. He cajoles. He makes things sound like the world is about to end, and then they end up coming up with something that's generally somewhere in the middle. But in the interim, while they're doing it, you end up getting whiplash. Yesterday, we had another one of those up days, and I think we're up something like 800 points inside of 2 days on the Dow, 306 up yesterday. Standard & Poor's was up by 38. NASDAQ, that was up by 211. That's 0.9%. And the Russell 2000 joined in the party. They were up 0.75% too. And we're now looking at the notion of bumping our noses into brand new record territories. The S&P is now back over 6,900. And after the original kerfuffle over Greenland, I thought that might be the event that might trigger that overdue bear market. Not a chance, right?
Well, yeah, not even a correction, right? I mean, we haven't had a correction for a while either. So, what's going to set that off? And as long as, the retail investor is of the mind that we're going to buy the dips, it may take a while for that to really happen.
Absolutely, because the retail investor is still on my fear and greed index in neutral territory. They backed off of greed when the entire Greenland kerfuffle started, but they haven't really gotten pessimistic at all by any measure. So now we get the pros buying like crazy, buying the dip, and the amateurs are saying, well, okay, fine, we'll still put some cash into this turkey. Yesterday, we ended up getting a couple of late reports, and both of them were probably not something that would give the interest rate mavens good news. Gross domestic product, we pretty sure it's the first reading on the fourth quarter. 4.4% increase in our gross domestic product annualized last year. That's almost into overheating level. Then you combine that up with the personal consumption expenditures inflation number, 2.8% top line year over year. I got to believe that tool they use on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, betting what the odds are of an interest rate decrease happening next week, I'll bet those odds just went down.
I would think so, but let's remember, Dave, these are still November numbers. They're not December numbers yet. So the PCE, the personal income number, we also got that number in, and they're all November numbers. So yeah, PCE number was actually year over year was up 0.1%. So it's definitely going the wrong direction right now. And then you've got the personal income is up from last month, from October to November is up 0.3%, but the expectation was for it to be up about 0.4%. And just to let you know, spending hasn't shrunk off at all. Spending up 0.5% for November.
Lordy, lordy. Every indication that would give us an indication the Fed could look at cutting interest rates next week is probably just gone pretty well out the window. The institutional investors are buying stocks, but we're still hedging a lot with the commodities. Got to mention that Goldman Sachs finally caught up with the real world, and they raised their gold price target for the end of the year from 4,900, which we're well over already, to $5,400 an ounce for the price of gold. Can you imagine that from just 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I remember for years I was thinking gold was a dumb investment because it never got above 2,000 like they were promising it would, and just all of a sudden it now goes up to the point where we're bumping our nose on 5,000 this morning. It's amazing. Davos been going on, and Elon Musk took center stage yesterday. He said that he was going to have his brand spanking new Optimus robot ready for shipment by the end of next year. You too could have Rosie, just like the Jetsons, in your home.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I'm just absolutely thrilled by that. And it's, of course, powered by Grok, so everything you say is going to go into an artificial intelligence engine and try to sell you something, right?
Yeah. Hey, look, think about it on the golf course, Dave. You could send it to go get your golf ball that's out in the weeds somewhere.
Now that's an idea. Snakes don't particularly. The snakes don't like robots. I think they would like me, so I let him go an awful lot when they go into the weeds. Other Davos stuff. President Trump still does his saber rattling. And the word is not necessarily firmed up as to what this quote-unquote deal could mean, but the leaks say that the deal with NATO could very well mean U.S. mining rights in Greenland, in addition to a whole pile of missiles and part of his Golden Dome process. But it's all being leaks right now. Why we got so calm all of a sudden after he said we had something in the works is beyond me.
Yeah. It's like you'd like to know what the details are before you really calm down the waters, right? I mean, it's like, okay, what is the deal? What are we going to get out of it? And how's it going to help us?
I think they're finally figuring out on Wall Street that all the posturing and the saber rattling at the outset is nothing more than posturing and saber rattling. And it really, once they get any kind of a leak that says, oh, yeah, things are going back to normal, then everything rebounds in a hurry. This is like the fourth or the fifth time in the last year that we've had this happen, where we get all upset for about 48 hours and then suddenly go back to something resembling normalcy again.
Yeah, that's right. And let's don't forget, Dave, we got the government shutdown looming right around the corner.
Yep, one of the two of us had to remind people of that. It was your turn, wasn't it? The other thing that's going on that could roil a few markets is President Trump is using the courts again. Now he's suing Jamie Dimon and J.P. Morgan for terminating his accounts. He said it was for political reasons, so he's suing the J.P. Morgan people. What? I didn't see the number on there. $4 billion or some dumb number like that. That's going to make things intriguing in the courts for a little while. I don't know that it'll affect the market any, but it ought to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, when you start going after publicly traded companies like that, that's it'll definitely be interesting to see how it affects that stock too.
Absolutely. And Dimon has a pretty good reputation as a talking head publicly. President Trump's got the big megaphone, but Dimon's got some decent press credential. It ought to be interesting, because I'm sure this one's going to be litigated in public long before it hits the courts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What doesn't get litigated in public, right?
Oh, especially with two people who love microphones more than they love their wives, I'm convinced. We got some reports out. The old big kahuna in the software and semiconductor industry reported. Intel's been kind of on the rocks lately. How'd they do last quarter?
Hey, Intel really did okay. I mean, they beat by almost 100%. I mean, they came in at 15 cents a share. They're expected to only make 8 cents a share. However, they fell short on revenue by about $300 million. And so that's an issue there for them. They said that the supply needs for kind of a seasonal demand shift in the first quarter, kind of disappointed investors as well. They're really kind of getting hammered this morning, Dave. Intel's backing off today, down 12.8%.
Woo!
Yeah.
Even when you make one of the metrics, you can't win, right?
Well, not. I think it has more to do with looking ahead than anything else for them. So, another company that reported, Dave, is I don't use them, but I know a lot of friends that use them to keep track of their kids. Life 360, their shares rose this morning extremely high. They in 2025 they grew their monthly user base by 20%. They now have over 95 million users. So that was some good news for them. I don't really there must not be any trading going on this morning on their stock because it hasn't moved on my ticker. But the report says that they were up as much as 23% yesterday after the report came out.
It's kind of like putting an air tag on your kid or something, isn't it?
Yep. There you go. That's about what it's like right there. Let's talk about a big bank, Capital One. Capital One announced that they have agreed to buy a startup company called Brex. I'm not sure what Brex does, but they're paying a lot for it, Dave. $5.15 billion, 50% cash, 50% stock. They came up short in earnings for this last quarter. They were expected to earn about $4.11 a share. They only made $3.86 a share. And so that has Capital One trading down about 3.5% this morning.
Ouch! Did you see anything on there about bad debt provision on Capital One? I kind of watch them because they're so liberal at giving credit cards out. I was wondering if they're starting to feel the pinch on consumer spending.
I have not seen nothing in the report I have.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious as to whether or not it made the top line. Resetting the table, it was another party day on Wall Street yesterday. Basically, everything was up. There's got to be a profit-taking day coming up sometime. 45 minutes before we open, what are we looking at today?
Hey, on the indexes, we've got red ink this morning, Dave, to start off the day. The Dow's down 0.5%. The S&P 500 is down 0.25%. And the NASDAQ 100 is down about 1/3. The Russell 2000 is down about 0.4%. So solid red across the board. On the other side of the coin, Dave, hold your breath. Silver almost at $100 an ounce, $99.66, up almost 3.5% this morning. Gold up 0.5% to $4,939 an ounce. And then crude oil making a big jump today, Dave, up 2.7% to $60.98 a barrel.
And I suspect we're going to have a little uptrend on that until things settle down a bit in Iran, whether we like it or not. Looking overseas at the moment, the Asian Rim relatively optimistic this morning. The two mainland Chinese markets were up on average about 0.5% at the close. Basically, everything was green over in the Asian Rim. Europe, on the other hand, we may have blown off what President Trump was doing just because it sounds like peace in the valley again. They still don't really trust us. European is trending somewhat down this morning, not markedly, but down by about 0.2% halfway through the European trading day. Getting my retirement together so I can actually retire when I plan on retiring takes a pair of eyes that are a little bit better informed than I got. How do I find you to get your eyes onto my retirement plans?
David, give us a call 863-382-0037 to schedule a core retirement analysis. I mean, the beginning of the year is a great time to do that, to make sure you're on track for that retirement you always dreamed of. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m., 95.3 FM. And we stream it at, 730.com? 730 a.m.com?
Newstalk730am.com.
I'll get that right one of these days.
That's what I'm here for. Have a great weekend, my friend. I'll catch you next week, all right?
All right, take care.
Be well. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.